3 rules to live life to get started over this next month. And please write these down. Number 1 is live deliberately. So much as it sounds an obvious thing to do, frankly, most of us live accidentally. And you pretty much know if you live accidentally because you kind of show up for a day or a week or a month or a year and you really have no idea what's going to happen, right? It's kind of like, well, whatever happens, happens. And living deliberately is very much like saying, well, I actually have some clear intentions. It's actually okay to have a clear intention, which is for magic to happen. You know, it's actually okay to have a clear intention, like today some amazing coincidence is going to take place, or I'm just going to get lucky. I mean, it doesn't like you actually determine every aspect of living deliberately, but the outcome of what it looks like, which allows you to at least have a chance of making it happen. Big difference of going to the airport and saying I want to go somewhere and I have no idea where, and going to the airport and saying I don't want to go to Los Angeles, and there's a flight and you get on it and somehow magically you get to Los Angeles. Like, we all end up achieving whatever we want in life when we are living deliberately, which means actually having clear intention of what we want to achieve. And this is going to be something we're going to check in with every single week. It's like, well, what are the goals you've set for this? How are they changing? Because it's okay to have it and change it as well. That's fine. But the most important thing is to actually keep on having a flight path that you're on and adjusting as you're going, but knowing if you're going to hit it or not. And all success in life really comes down to your ability to guess where you're heading and actually get there. And all confidence in life comes from actually setting a goal and getting to it. Most of us, our experience of money and attraction and all good things that allow us to get to fulfillment and success is a little bit like, have you ever been to one of those hotels where you kind of like get in and it's kind of one of those cheap hotels and it's kind of okay and the bed's all right, but then you go for a shower and you turn on the shower and you get it just right, and then you get in the shower, and then the moment you get in the shower, it goes like super hot, right? And so you then turn and it goes super cold, and then it goes super hot. And like, no matter what you do, you cannot get the control right? So what happens after a while? You either got to like just go with the cold shower, or you got to like just not go for a shower, or you got to figure out something else, but you kind of make do with the fact that you have no control over the plumbing. So for a lot of us, that's how we run our business, or how we run our finances. It's like, we have no idea. You want me to make another 10,000? I have no idea how. I try this, I try that, I try that. If I get it, I'm lucky, but otherwise it might just suddenly work, suddenly not work. This living deliberately is actually not having to worry about the money, not having to worry about the business, because you know you can just turn it on that much and it's more than enough, and now you can get on to other things, right? Because it's going to be something that is about how you're getting better at plumbing. So all good wealth is good plumbing. It's just understanding how to control that tap. And you'll notice that people that are more successful, they don't worry more about money, they worry less about money. But they know how to turn the tap and make 100,000, make 1 million, make 10 million. And it just is being better at controlling as you go, so you can get on to other things. Living deliberately is number 1, which is that every day you're saying, right, I have an outcome that makes this my perfect day. And now let's see if I can actually make that happen or not. And who can conspire with me to make this my perfect day. Number 2 is playful out. So what does playful out actually look and feel like? Playful out has an awful lot more to do with everyone else around you than yourself. It's like playing full out in a game isn't about you chasing the ball the whole time. Right? Playing full out is like getting everyone involved in such a way you've actually got a chance to win. So a lot of times it's not even about chasing the ball that you see, it's about positioning yourself to give someone else a chance to kick it, right? And then everyone wins. So playful out, what does it look like? It looks like every day you've already not just set the intention of what you're going to do, but you've set it in a way that will be a benefit to everyone else. As time goes on, you may go, ooh, I've got this really great thing, I've got to work on this morning. And there may be a session going on in here. So there'll be a part of you thinking, shall I attend the session, shall I go do my thing? Playful out is attend every session. Because you don't know what's going to happen in that session, which could change everything. And most of the biggest shifts that happen, the whole distinction of a paradigm shift is it's unexpected in the first place. So the whole point is, the things that are going to be the biggest things for you are things that you couldn't even predict. So don't try and predict by cutting yourself off and saying, I've got to go do this, I've got to do that. Or when you're listening to someone talk about their business to you or ask you for advice, you're going, that's not really relevant to me, so look, you actually go, you know what, this may be one of those moments where something may actually happen here. What if I just came from a place where I just played full out and just gave fully and gave this person the advice they're looking for, or shared something, or just ask them some questions. And I think what's going to happen out of this, as you're going to notice, is some of us are way better at coming up with amazing ideas that can make money. Some of us are way better at connecting with people in different ways. There will be, without doubt, by the end of these 30 days, new partnerships formed, new businesses created. There's going to be new connections that were made, and you may even leave in 30 days with an entirely different thing that you're doing to generate income than you came here with. Because this is not about you just improving what you're doing, it's about what happens when you actually get part of a a bigger team and a bigger connection. So playing full out is about saying, look, there's something going on. I'm going to move heaven and earth to be there. If I've got cores back at the office and so on that are clashing with some of the stuff, I'm going to see if I can change those cores so I can actually be in the space when things are taking place. And I'm going to put myself in a position to let magic happen, because who knows when it might happen. And at the same time, I'm going to design my space and time for other things I'm doing, where if I don't think I'm doing it effectively, I'm actually going to ask people, how would you do this? How would you make this happen differently? The biggest block to progress, to all progress, is the illusion of knowledge. The biggest problem we all have in this room is that we all think we're already too smart. Like if we're all back 9-year-old, 10-year-old kids, you would have an amazing month. But the biggest thing that will stop you is the fact that you know it already. I know this stuff already. I don't have to listen to this again. Oh, I know what that person's problem is. I don't have time to talk to them again. But the moment you actually say, well, what if I didn't know anything? What question would I actually ask here? And often, the things that make the biggest difference in your business is just a little tweak where you thought you were doing something, but you weren't, right? That saying to know and not to do is not yet to know. It really is through the doing. It's like, yeah, I know how to do that. Yeah, but are you doing it? Well, no. Well, what happened if you did? Well, I don't have the time to. Well, who would have the time to? And you just start going down a route where you start measuring what you're doing by the doing to actually experiment on different things. Like I say, an intellectual is someone who needs to know in order to do. An entrepreneur is someone who needs to do in order to know. It's the opposite, right? So even though you think, I know this, or I need to know this before I can do it, forget about that. Just do it and get the learning from the doing. So a lot of this is going to be about testing and measuring and like saying, well, let's just try this and see what happens. And I'm with a group of people, so I could try this, and within a week, I might get a result on this. I might not. Let's just see. So play full out is number 2. And number 3, which is something that a lot of you already are doing, is listen actively. This is probably one of the most important things when you're in the room or when you're actually working with other people. So what does listen actively mean? A lot of us, we listen in a way that we think we're learning. So what does that look like? It looks like us saying, I wonder what's being said right now that I should make a note of because this might be useful for me later, right? That's not listening actively. That's just like listening to learn. But you don't learn that way, because what tends to happen is you only put down something which is in the paradigm of what you think you already know, which means the most important stuff you don't even write down, because like, I know that already, and so you don't actually see it in a new way. Listening actively is when you come in with a paradigm which is like, imagine yourself being here where everything that's being shared, you need to share with somebody else. So you're here right now listening to me, not to see if there's anything interesting I'm saying, but saying, I gotta write this stuff down because I gotta tell someone's expecting me to tell them what happened when Roger was here talking. So what should I be writing down about what he's saying right now that I should tell somebody else? That's listening actively, because all real learning doesn't come from you learning something, it comes from you teaching somebody else. Right? So if you're already thinking in the way that I'm writing this stuff down in a way that I'm going to teach somebody else. In fact, treat this whole month like a month where you're actually coming to it like, I'm going to write a book about this month. I mean, what about that? What if you're like, I'm going to write a book about transformation in a month. 1 month, how to run your business from a beach, how I did it, and the outcome. So that already from day one, you're thinking, right, what am I learning about people here that I actually write about their characters? What do I write here about what I'm learning about them that I'd put in a book, that I'd teach someone else about what this person's all about? Because if you come from that point of active listening, you'll be amazed at what you actually end up writing down and learn that you thought you already knew. And you'll see it in a different way. You probably noticed that within this group already, we got people that can do accounts, we got people that can write, people that can take photos, people that can get connections going. I mean, it's all here. So there's a lot, exactly as John said, there's a lot of expertise and skill sets that we have right in this group. And that's something which we will be opening up as we get into this, is an opportunity for some of you to share your skill sets and support to the group, to everyone else, so that we can all basically learn from that as well. And that's a really important part of this too. I'm going to do this as a bit of a kind of a marker for everyone as well, to see where everyone's at, because most of you are now familiar, and if you're not that familiar, you'll become a lot more familiar with the wealth dynamics profiling, which is the fastest way to get into your flow by not trying to copy everyone else, but doing what is right for you based on your strengths. So, as you know, we have on here 2 very, very different ways that people create value. And everything, if we start looking at it, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on this, but enough that we just have a bit of an orientation, everything that happens naturally as far as flow goes will always happen in nature from high ground to low ground. That's how it flows. And frankly, money flows in exactly the same way as a result of a difference in high value and low value. So if I have a value exchange, if I decide I want to sell my shoes, and I say I'm going to sell my shoes for $20, it means I don't value my shoes as much as $20. I value it lower. I'd rather have the $20. Someone comes along and says, I'll buy the $20. They value the shoes more than the $20. So as a result, high value, low value, my shoes, I get money, right? So money will always flow from high value to low value. And the moment you have something of value that you're happy to pass to someone else who values it more than you do, they'll give you money for that. And most of us, we don't understand how to change value, because frankly, if you can double value, you can double money flow. If I want to make $40 instead of $20, then I can do that by basically having shoes that are worth double as much. So how would I make that happen? And straight away, you can double up your flow. So on the one hand, there's speed. This is what creates speed as far as value goes. And then you've also got the width of the river, because I could also make $40, not by changing value, but by selling 2 pairs of shoes instead of 1, right? That's leverage, which is basically saying I'm not actually increasing the speed, I'm just increasing the width or the volume at any one time. So speed is value, leverage, which is the width of the river. This is all about good plumbing. Everything's about good plumbing. Leverage is about the volume, and I can control the two to double up. Should I be leveraging my value? Should I be creating new value? And every value and leverage as we go through, you're going to see for anyone who's out in the middle of nowhere creating this, it's all happening remotely. You don't have to be there for it to happen. In fact, it's better for you not to be in there happening. If you ever watched for traffic jams and got to the point at the front from where that traffic jam is, most times you'll find a human. It's like when the traffic lights have stopped and the policeman's now in the middle of the road basically directing traffic. You know, we are the biggest blocks to our own flow. When humans show up in the middle of all these processes, it changes everything and actually means that we've got to be the ones managing it. So the key to flow is outsource, automate all of it. Though you can actually get on to building more flow, then it's easy. So for most of us, we're not doing that, which means every day we've got to go out getting buckets of new money, which is a little bit like us not having plumbing in the resort, and every day you've got to start by going out and getting buckets of water to wash with, get the plumbing sorted out, then you can get on with life, right? Which is what this is about, just getting connected to flow. So how does this work? Very simple. Anyone who basically is looking to create value very quickly finds out there's two opposite ways. There are some of us with an intuitive thinking dynamic, which means we have our head in the clouds, which means we're always going to create value through something called innovation. By creating something faster, quicker, bigger, smaller, right? It's like I can create a pair of shoes and sell them for $20. So innovation is where we find our creators. We have creators in the room. We have some stars who are creating brand. We have some mechanics who are creating systems. And always, people on this side, this is the dynamo energy. We talked about wood energy, right? So dynamo, which is basically talking about wood. This here is spring energy. Head in the clouds, great at starting things, terrible at finishing anything. I mean, so as a result, you know, I got another good idea. They'll always go on to new ideas, and the old idea never got finished. And at the end of the day, that's okay. You don't have to finish it. Someone else can finish it for you, right? So whether it's writing a book, whether it's starting a business, a lot of times it's like, well, I keep starting them, but I never finish them. Or I never get them to the end point where there's flow coming out of it. It's like, well, that's just because you didn't connect to the right people that do that naturally. You don't have to try and do it naturally yourself. Just find others that are doing that. You have the opposite down here, which is not head in the clouds thinking, it's ear to the ground thinking. Ear to the ground thinking is very, very different. That's sensory thinking. So you're now basically not thinking about creating something new, you're thinking about the timing of what's already there. So these people make their money through the timing. These are the tempo energies, which is basically autumn. And this is where we'll have the likes of the traders, or we'll have the deal makers who are doing timing through people. Or we'll have, this is like people like Donald Trump, George Soros I mentioned earlier, or like Warren Buffett, richest man in the world. Actually, this is very interesting. I said a while back, for any of you who are at the fast forward, that we are turning the corner on our seasons. You know, as long as we were in winter season in the global economy, it would be the accumulators lords making the most money, which was actually what was happening the last couple of years. Just this year, and I said at some point you're going to see creators starting to make money again. Just this year, Bill Gates became the richest man in the world again, right? Because all of his investments and things have just gone up, and now we're seeing all the creators coming back. So we're getting back into spring energy, and you can always tell because that's who the people are that are making the money. But and Richard Branson, people like that, who are creators, they're seeing that showing up here as well. So traders, deal makers, accumulators like Warren Buffett or Carlos Slim from Mexico and so on, Li Ka-shing from Hong Kong, just collecting things that then grow in value. These people are very good at timing. They don't have to create anything. And the key thing is knowing the difference. This is also service. You know, it's like Singapore government spending all their time talking about how they should be more creative. But Singapore was not created as a creative nation. It was created as a trading nation. And you know that because it's full of people, sensory people, right? If you go onto Singapore Airlines, Changi Airport, there's like very good service because this sensory is about good service. Go onto British Airways, not such good service. But it's okay, they're all creative, right? Like England's a very creative nation, so every nation is different. You get all these great ideas that get stolen by the Japanese. Okay, and then we have got the dynamic of thinking dynamic, which is opposite. Everyone cross your arms for a moment. Everyone cross your arms, cross your arms. Okay, that was natural, didn't even have to think about it. That's what it feels like to naturally do something. Didn't even think about it, but have a look at how you're crossing your arms. Is it right over left, left over right? Have a look at the people around you. See who's doing it opposite. See, some are doing the same, some are actually doing the opposite. Interesting. Okay, on the count of 3, do the opposite. 1, 2, 3. Half of you are like, yes, 1, 2, 3. Go about the same way. All right, but if you're doing opposite, does it feel more comfortable? No. So opposite, you can only do one at a time. Okay, shake it out. You can only do one at a time, and you always do what's most natural. And as long as you're doing the natural, you're canceling out the opportunity to do the opposite. So the more creative you are, the less you're going to be sensory to things around you, right? That's why brainstorm people can't even, get odd socks and all sorts of things happening. And vice versa. People who are here very sensory, very connected, just can't get into creative mode. So judge someone here by their ability to put a plan together, and you're going to have problems straight away, right? So everyone's got a strength, which is someone else's weakness. And then in the same way that we have got an action dynamic, we have a thinking dynamic, we have an action dynamic. This is the opposites of leverage. So 2 opposites of value, innovation, and timing. 2 opposites of leverage, which come from people on this side who are always working through people, supporters, stars, deal makers that are always working through extrovert action dynamic, and that's as opposed to introvert action dynamic. And the people on this side, and this is Lord profile here, and these people will always go through systems. They're always going through the multiply. The number of people I know who are like star profiles who try and multiply, like multiply is asking the question, how can it happen without me? Like work on my business instead of in my business, and I'll try and multiply out, which is make things as simple as possible. People like star supporters don't know how to make things simple. In fact, they can't help but make things complicated. They do the opposite, which is not multiply, which is making it simple and for it to work without you. It's actually make things complicated and make it happen with you. This is magnify, which is not make it simple and make many, it's make it complicated and make only one. So there's only one Tiger Woods brand, there's only one Oprah Winfrey brand, there's only one Donald Trump deal in New York. So you have to go to them. It's not asking the question, how can it happen without me? It's asking the question, how can it only happen with me? But I only have to show up maybe once a year and I can make $1 billion deal, right? So this is a very, very different way of doing it, and we're all in a different space here, depending on who we are. So what I'm going to do, because this is all about how we build the right teams going forward, and most of us, this is where we get it wrong, let's just go through who we have and what your current profile is, if you know, because you've done the test. I'm going to start with you, Donna. Which one are you? Creator. Creator. Okay, so we have Donna, who's a creator here. Actually, this kind of got a bit busy, hasn't it? Let me try another one. I'll do it over here. No, I've got the pens over here. I'll do it here. Okay, so we have Donna, creator. That means I'll put Donna up here. Grace, trader. Okay, so we have Grace here. So straight away, immediately, the strategies and how you'd go about doing things is entirely different, the opposite for Donna and Grace. And you'll see that play out, where it's like, no wonder. Because when one does things naturally, the other one would actually find that very, very difficult. Anton. Creator. So we have Anton up here. And Alicia. Supporter. And Vivian. Mechanic. And Terry. Creator. Ooh, creators are coming along. And Ursula. Creator. Creators. And Matt. Mechanic. And Scott. Lord. And Neil. Creator. And Kevin. Supporter. And Emma. Creator. And Christine. It happens. Exactly. They'll be coming to iLAB in about half a year. They're just waiting for it. Yeah. So, so we have different people here. Then we have John, star. I'm a creator. We have Simone, mechanic. Jules is support. No, actually star. Star creator. Roz. And Shane. All right. And Simon. Okay. So that's the team right now as of today. And we'll see things evolve as others come on board. And it's always helpful when you actually have people coming in who are teaching you things to find out what their profile is. This is one thing you'll hear about John, even in things like online marketing strategies. How they go about doing their marketing has a lot to do with what they do naturally. And you see this in a lot of the success stories. It's not like just following a formula. It's actually having a formula based on what you do naturally so that you're not having to do things that feel like hard work. If you're doing things that feel hard work, you're already doing the wrong thing, right? So really critical. Okay, let me move from this, because what I want to do is give you a framework during this last period of time we have together for this next month. Let me start by going through some of the most critical parts to kind of clear them out of the way of what is, for some of us, illusions of what we're looking for in life. Starting with the first one, which is this concept that there's lots of books and things written about called financial freedom. Even talking about running your business empire from an iPad on the beach sounds appealing. That's what this whole month is about, being able to do that. Because financial freedom is more than just freedom to be able to go anywhere. Financial freedom is the fact that you have enough money coming automatically that you really don't have to be working for money. So financial freedom really is like, I've just got automatic money coming in. So let's just get that one out of the way first of all. You're in Bali. The average pay for a Balinese, average pay for a Balinese is $400, 4 million rupiah a month. There are people on $200, there's people on $1,000, but basically this is the average, $400 for the month. Now what does that give you? It gives you a place to live, it gives you an amazing group community, it gives you food, it gives you more than enough to be at all the festivals, to be celebrating, to be connected, to have a great time, to go out partying. I mean, this is it, $400. So the first thing is, just being here in Bali, there are ways easily for everyone here to make $400 a month and live the life of Balinese and never have to work again ever in your life, just by being here, right? That's really where it's at. Now, getting that and understanding that are two very different things. I had a guy where we were talking, the guy came from Netherlands once. We had an event going on, and I said, when you come to Bali, this whole idea that we have a very manufactured sense of money in cities because the cost to even be alive is so high that we spend our time running around just to stay in the same place. So the first thing is just moving environment and realizing that whole thing is an illusion. It's created in such a way because you're so disconnected from everything that even getting food means you've got to go down an entire food chain that buying breakfast already costs $10 because you've got to like pay for all that stuff to even get the cornflakes to you. I was saying that to some of the guys here. It's like when you come to Bali, you have a different relationship with money. I had this guy from the Netherlands, he came back after the first day. He's like, oh, Roger, you're so right. I've seen the light. I go, what do you mean? He goes, this morning, I went down this road, because like the village is just here. I went down the road to the village. I looked at the bananas. Oh my goodness. In Europe, he's like, can I share this with everyone? I go, sure. He gets in front of us. In Europe, if you want to buy a bunch of bananas, right, that's already going to cost you like €4 for the bunch of bananas. I went down the road. It's not €4. It's more like 40 cents. It's a tenth of what it is in Europe. I suddenly understand what Roger's talking about. I go, why did you go to the market? We got a banana tree out the back. It's like, you don't have to pay anything for the bananas. And so there's a break in the way we think, which is like, everything costs money to just be alive. When actual paradise itself and the experience of it, it does cost, you can manage this way. Now you can say, no, it's different because you're here for a month and you paid money to be at this resort and there's a cost to all of that. Yes, there is, but then at the same time, we're then adding a zero to this and saying, well, can we find a way to make $4,000 or $5,000 instead? One of the goals over this month is to basically have a promotion, have something you're testing and measuring that will make you double that. Right? Now, it doesn't mean we're all going to achieve it, but some of you will. Some of you achieve a lot more than that. We'll have people who are experts who'll be doing that. John's already doing that. I'm already doing that. And so you'll see those examples of how you can just be here in Bali and you can make these things happen. But most importantly, the thing about financial freedom is financial freedom in itself is an illusion because it starts with a high bar that we're creating for ourselves, which makes life so difficult to begin with. So, okay, so here's a question for you, and this is kind of a trivia question, and you can just share your immediate answer with the person next to you. If you had a choice of either having a life where money was just automatic, which meant that you could just have enough money coming in, and that's how you remembered your life, or you had a life full of magic moments, just incredible experiences that you went through in life, and you had to choose one or the other, which one would you choose? I turn to the person next to you and just choose. Which one out of the two? Okay, hands up who chose the automatic money one. Who chose that one? Okay, hands up who chose the magic moments experience. Okay, isn't that amazing? Because at the end of the day, a lot of us are reading the books to go, oh, we've got to make, and just like the story I told you about free-range humans, she bursts out crying because she's lost all those experiences because she's kind of got to that final point, which is disconnection. Business in itself is dehumanizing. That's just because it's a machine, right? So you get into it. So our job is not to be in there dehumanizing and dehumanizing itself. Our job is to humanize, right? That's the only reason for an entrepreneur, is just leave it to a machine. So there's an aspect to this which isn't even about the financial freedom. It's about, well, financial freedom is good, but isn't it better, instead of just having financial freedom, to have magic moments? I mean, like experiences. Okay, another unfair analogy. You have an option, another trivia question. You can either go through life where at the end of it you can look at your life and go, my life had a series of like really amazing experiences. Or you can go through your life and you can say, oh, my life had a series of truly meaningful moments, which actually means that I lived a truly meaningful life. Okay, option 1 and 2, have to choose one. Which one of the two would you choose? Tell your partner, which one would it be, 1 or 2? Okay, we may not have the same level of agreement on this, but hands up who would rather have the experiences. Okay, and hands up who would rather have the meaningful life. All right, so if you are still on the other side, it's like, well, I don't care about the meaning, I just want to have fun, right? However, there are also, majority again, who are saying, actually, it's about meaningful life. Now, this last one might seem like an obvious question, but it really isn't, because most of the trends that people are talking about is leading towards the first part of this. Okay, but basically, let me share again too, and you choose for yourself. The first one is that you achieve success in life on your own. Most of the books out there are talking about that. Secondly, you achieve success through life with others. I don't just mean your close family, I mean just with others that are like-minded. You have like-minded friends that actually are sharing that journey with you. Okay, hands up who would go for the first if you had to choose. Hands up who would go for the second if you had to choose. All right, now this is like a really critical part, because for a lot of us, we've got so busy going down this one, we're on our own. Right? Or we're so busy trying to find one of these ones, we're still on our own because we didn't put it in there. We actually had to be having it, sharing with not just any kind of friends, but like-minded, right? Or like-spirited, because it really is about that connection where you get way, way, way more for what you're up to and what you're doing. So what we've got here is we've got basically us talking about this to begin with, which some of you may actually come here for. It's like, I just want to get this automatic, and then we forget about these three. Or we get this one, then we get onto this one, and then later in life we think, you know, I really want this one, because I kind of got this one. And then at some point it's like, oh my God, I've been doing this on my own. So what are we talking about for this month? We're talking about, it's not either or, it's and. We're talking about all 4 of these. So it's, and you can see that it becomes increasing in importance, so you might as well start from the end and work your way back. Because you can always make money from anything nowadays. So start with the like-minded people. Then from the like-minded people, make it meaningful. Then from the meaningful side, you can always create amazing experiences out of that, and you can always make money from there. But don't do any of these, and don't shortcut any of these to get to the next one at the expense. Does that make sense to everybody? So super important. Another definition about what we're aiming to do here is this idea of what allows all this to happen, which is what I call a global business. But this requires definition, because some people think global business means McDonald's. But that's not what we're talking about here. Global business I define in 2 very, very specific ways. The first way is that you can work from anywhere. So what that means is that some of you may take all of the tools and everything we share and go right back to your house with your family and work from there, which is absolutely fine if you can work from anywhere and that's where you choose to work from. It's not all about going out to some paradise island. But it is about the fact that you can work from anywhere because you're not bound to an office or bound to a particular place where you have to show up even if you didn't want to. So working from anywhere is about freeing yourself up from the shackles by understanding some of the principles. But there's a second part, which is more powerful than just this, because some of us have figured out how to do this, and as time goes on, our business kind of whittles away and we start making less and less, then we've got to go back and connect with people again. So there's a second part to this, which is learn from everywhere. When you have a global mindset, you stop just looking at people around you in your city or country or industry and just try and learn from them. You actually have a global mindset where you start learning from people in other industries that may have already progressed further along at sorting things out, or from other countries that may be more advanced than your one, and where people have better answers already. So whenever I start a new business, I'm always starting as a global business, even if it's in my backyard, because I want it to be something that if I choose to move it to another country, that's easy to do. But more importantly, I'm already looking at reference points from all around the world that I can learn from, and then see how they might apply within my market as well. And that's super important too. So I got to, a little of my story, I got to Bali with my family and 3 children in 2007. That's like now 7 years ago. And we found this place within the first month. And at that point, I was busy putting money into businesses, and so I didn't come to invest in Bali. And when you buy into a resort or any property, you've got to pay cash for the whole thing. So unless you've got a couple of million just sitting around that you want to just throw at something, it isn't the kind of like impulse buy that you generally have to buy a resort. However, we didn't come with the intention to buy a resort. We came with the intention that over time, we would find a resort that we would buy. And we said, me and Renato were like, okay, it'll take like maybe 3 years, 5 years to do that. We set a budget, because in Singapore, we were spending about $3,000 a month in rent for our family house. And we're like, okay, well, let's rent a place to start with. And we set a budget, well, if it's $3,000 in Singapore, if we want a really nice place in Bali, maybe it's like $2,000. So we set that as our budget. And then we went out looking for places. We found this place. It was pretty run down when we found it, but it was $2,000 for the whole place. So I thought, well, that's our budget, that's a sign. So we took it on, that's how we started. Like, we just had this resort. And it wasn't like I would have taken it on. There were running costs and so on, but I factored the running costs into the fact that I was going to run an event here, and they would cover the running costs, and then so I was thinking about how I could create other flow that could flow in that would support this in ways that others couldn't. I could actually make, they weren't able to license it as a resort because they didn't have a resort license, so they were stuck. They were in a catch-22. They couldn't market it to get money in. They couldn't. So I actually saw it as a little ad in the estate agent's 13-bedroom house. Right? so that's how we found this place. And no one else was even able to find it or look for it because they couldn't even market it as a resort in the first place. So sometimes it's about just kind of like setting your parameters and then going out and working at it. And then one thing led to another where I was commuting at that point, and the company we had in Singapore had about 80 employees, and I was traveling there pretty much on a weekly basis. And over time, it's just like in John's story, I thought, you know what, there's better, smarter ways to do this. And we went from a company that had 80 employees to a company that has now 8 with triple the revenue and with 10 times the profit. And today, the things that I do, just to give you an overview, and this is really, for me, what it's all about being able to think globally. Like my general month, how a month goes now, everything is project-based, which means while I have a number of different businesses that I'm involved in, there's projects and promotions going on. In my life at the moment, we have just finished a global partner meeting where we have people from different parts of the world running something called Entrepreneurs Institute, which runs all the wealth dynamics side. We have just basically signed an agreement for China, where we launched China at the moment, and we have a whole team that's going to be there in China this coming year. I'm in Taiwan next weekend, where we have like 300 people that are coming along for an event there, which is all about fast forward your business. And then I'm in Japan 2 weeks after that, and outside of just once a quarter traveling to a country. Like as you know, I went to Australia in March. I'll go to Asia in July. I'll be in Europe in September. Outside of that, anything else I do in traveling is really just connecting with people I want to connect with. It isn't for business because I want to spend my time here in Bali. So I have the fast forward businesses that are growing effectively on their own. I have an online business, which is everything we do around our tests and assessments for entrepreneurs. And that has doubled up every year for the last 5 years. And it's just grown and grown and grown and grown until the fact that it's a multi-million-dollar business, which can just run from while I'm here in Bali. And if I did nothing with it and just left it running there, that alone pays for everything many times over, as does the fast forward events, which does the same thing. I really enjoy working with mentors. So I have something called Crystal Circle, which is my mentoring that I do every Thursday. And it's just once a week, that's it. But it's what I love to do. And it makes several $1 million a year, just that, which is separate from anything else that I'm doing. And I'm also involved in the Green School, where I'm the chairman of the Green School. We have a board meeting coming up on Monday. And the Green School has a mission to have, and you have a chance to meet it, see it this month, but it has this real opportunity to grow all around the world, where there's about 160 people working in there. I was at a meeting last night with all of the managers looking at the new year, and that's growing at about 40–50% a year at the moment. It's growing very rapidly. And as part of that, we just raised some funding where I'm part of Green School Global, which has been set up specifically to launch green schools around the world. And we have now a whole valley, which is Green Camp, which is an entirely different business, which is basically got ropes courses going and has schools from around the world coming in and learning how to be creating leaders for the future in the environment. And then I have Green Supercamp, which is a partnership with a group which is from America that comes in and works with us on that as well. We have the resort here, and at the moment we're very excited about a totally separate business called Talent Dynamics, which is for corporates, which has now got very big in the education market. And I could pretty much say that all these different things that I've talked about so far, which is about half the different things that I'm involved in, which aren't the boring things like properties and other things that are going on, that these ones are all where I really put my passion and I'm really interested in, and that I would never even touch except for a particular day of the week, which means whether it's Crystal Circle on a Thursday, whether it's my Wealth Dynamics on a Tuesday, I'll look at it once in the week, and I'll have teams that I'll connect with on that day, and other than that, I don't even worry about it because it's doing what it needs to do for the following week. So a lot of that's about the rhythm. And all of this in total has got to a point where these businesses are generating just north of $20 million a year and is going up by about 50% a year. And my time in these and allowing it to grow, I spend most of my time in Bali. I spend most of my time doing very little in terms of any one particular business. And I spend most of my time with my family and enjoying the fact that I have a daughter that's about to graduate, and then I have a son that's just gone into a camp, and another daughter that's going through exams that I'm supporting at the moment, where we're kind of like going through exam strategies. When you disassociate the things that you're doing with how you want to design your life, and then you link it the other way around, so you're not a slave to your business, but you shift it, it changes everything. And within everything I've just shared, I haven't yet mentioned the fact that we're about to launch a Facebook app I'm very excited about called the Genius Test, which is a whole different thing, or that we've actually got an entire accreditation program that we just got set up, and we've got 100 people going through that, which is an entirely new thing, or even just iLAB itself, that while you're on the first one, we already have the second one almost full, and we've got 5 with partnerships that are set up all the way through the year that I'm very excited about. So I get an opportunity to get very, very excited about lots of different things that are going on, where each one of them alone, if everything else stopped, I could basically live off that, get excited by that. But it gets to a point where when you're spending your time on the plumbing, it becomes much more about what you need to say no to, or what is the things that you're doing for good reason. Not just because you want to work hard to get somewhere, but because if you've got one chance on this planet to really live fully, how do you want to design that in a way that's really going to work for you, and how do you inspire yourself with those around you to really make those things work? Because at the end of the day, the only way I can do any of this has very little to do with this. Yeah, systems are important, but it's much more about the people. It's what people can you attract by living a big enough story that people want to come play with you, where what you're doing to inspire yourself is enough to inspire other people too. And for many of us, we're so busy on trying to get systems in place and trying to get the structure in place, we forget we're not yet inspiring ourselves. And so how could we possibly inspire others? And when we get right back to core, that's actually the most fun way to do it. Is you're actually starting by saying, well, what would inspire like-minded friends? What could I be doing that already I couldn't do on my own? Because it's already too big for me to do on my own. So the pie already needs to be split up. And what would I do in such a way that I could share it and connect with others who are already doing that, that could get us all really excited about it, which allows us to do something very meaningful. Because if we can do something really meaningful, we can always design magic experiences in, and from those experiences, we can always find a way to make money. So we reverse the whole thing around, and we start with the end in mind of what would this look like if it's incredible. And it just so happens that in my life, none of these things I'm doing right now had anything to do with me saying, let's start a business. It had everything with me deciding that I was going to have in my life, and this is where identity becomes so important, which we're going to be getting to in a moment, that I had just 3 things that if I was going to try and make an impact in my life at all, we all have limited time, I wanted to make them in 3 very specific areas to see if I could do my part in my small way to improve the future. And one area which I thought was super important was environment. Was that if I could find ways to really understand environment better, not just environment in terms of nature, but environment in terms of different environments within in a space with the 5 elements and so on, that would be one thing that I believed I could master as something that people would see me as being a master within, and I just focus at that. And that would then link to the idea of education, which is not so much what we show up in, which is environment, but how we make sense of it, which is education. And that would mean children's education as well as adult education. And so everything I'm doing needs to be something that's linked to the environment, needs to be something linked to education, just as this program is. And then the third thing, entrepreneurship, is not just what we show up in or how we make sense of it, but how we do something productive with that information. And entrepreneurship just happens to be the way that I find most effective to be able to take something, make sense of it, and then improve it. And so as a result of that, this becomes a cycle where in all 3 areas, it allows me to get very focused, and I now know what to say no to. Anything that doesn't fit in all 3 of these areas, I will pass on to somebody else. But if it does, then it helps me build my meaningful life for who I am, and it will allow me to get involved in it in whatever way works for me. So as we go through this month, and I'm going to be back again next week with a number of sessions that I'll be running, so much of it is going to be going through, here's examples of what we're doing, here's things that are relevant to you that you could already be following, here's lessons that we've learned where, just as John said, we've made big mistakes all the way along the way, but here is how not to make those same mistakes or how to improve on the learning that we're having, so we actually start working on that collectively, which is like a super important part of this as well. So just on what I just shared here, in terms of a picture of designing a life, and the fact that we are here to build a global business. And that a large part of this is going to link to our own personal identity, where we can be clear who we are and why we're here, which is the biggest part to link it all together. 5 reasons that we end up wanting to achieve something in life and not achieving it. Because we all want the best and we all try our best, but it's going to come down to one of these 5. Number 1, and this is the cycle of elements. First thing which happens is we end up not actually saying, here's what I want my life to look like. Here's what's a perfect life for me in a year from now. This is what it would look like. That would make my heart sing. We don't have that clear. And it's not because we can't, because I can guarantee the moment you go through a process to get clear, you get clear. Even if it's not 100%, it's 80%, 90% to get clear. So this first one here, not having life design, means that we're all busy doing something at a low level, which never sustains itself. And frankly, if it's off on the wrong track in the first place, you're going to eventually get blown anyway. Right? Or we end up getting blown into the wind, which is never where the boat's meant to go. Right? Sometimes the boat has to go into headwind to get where it needs to go, but it will still go that way, provided the captain is very clear on what the destination is. So this first thing, that's one of the biggest reasons why people never get to where they want to get to. There's a second part, which is the what. And the what is not having a clear market position, which is for people to know how they can work with you in a way that's profitable for both of you. By not having clear market position, you can have a life design and have no money, and have no one helping you, or no one wanting to work with you. Not because they don't want to, they just don't know what game you're playing, they don't know how to kick you the ball, they don't even know if you're playing football or basketball, they just don't know. Because you haven't been clear yourself, here's the game I'm playing, here's the position I play, here's the team I want to play with. So the second one, when we're not clear about this one, again, we can end up saying, here's where I want to get to, and it's just a dream, it never happens. But with this, we're now on the pitch, in position, ball's getting kicked to us, we're now playing the game. So this is the second part, which is the what, which is all about identity, and more importantly, market position for you and your products and your business. When you have this, you can go anywhere in the world and people will still show up for your product. But if you don't have this, the moment you leave your physical presence where you are, people don't even know you're there, and you're not there to chase them. And as a result, you never kick the ball anymore, right? So people go, they retire someone new, it's like, oh, my business dried up. It's because this wasn't clear enough that it was sustaining itself. More importantly, and this is a big missing part for most people that you'll find out when you hear more about my strategies and John's strategies and others who are actually doing this, this one is the one most people miss out on, which is the who, not having people worried about your success more than you are. If you are finding yourself more worried about your wealth or your success than anybody else, you're already on the wrong path. The moment you've structured things in such a way that you've got a partner now who every day wakes up, who wants to be successful, and when they're successful, you're successful, so every day they're out saying, I've got to get this going, like my team in Japan, or my team in Poland, or like every day they're waking up without me having to even call them to say, worry about this, and they're worried about it. They're like, I want to make sure this works. So they're more motivated for it to be successful than I am. So as a result, I don't have to worry about it because they're worrying about it already. And as a result, the money flows in because I've got partnership agreements, which means they're out there doing that. When we run something like the fast forward business in Australia, and some of you who came along for that, right? That was one event, 10 days, it made over $1 million. We ran the whole thing without going to Australia once before I landed the day before the event. How was that possible? It wasn't because of our systems. It was because we had a whole army of people on the ground who were so motivated to want to support that program because they were going to add value to their network. They were going to make money out of it. And we designed it that way that we could show up. And just through basic human behavior of people wanting to do a good job, we had full events. So if you're creating all the systems to how you go about marketing something, and then you're the one waking up having to push the system, you're already doing the wrong thing. So this is very much about who, fire energy, who am I working with? Not how am I working, but who am I actually working with? And so we're going to be focusing on partnerships as we go forward. Very, very important. And then you're going to see that the when. So some of us, we do that, and we go, oh, we've got people we can now work with. But then we don't have the when, which is all about, as I said, service, grounding. You know, what is the schedule, or so not having a schedule of sow, nurture, reap. I mean, there's a whole grounding as to how things grow, which is not about just going out and getting new business, but how you actually look after that business, how you look after the people that you're working with. The whole flow of people who come on board doing more with you. So the lifetime value of that person goes up and up and up. Because a lot of us don't have that. We're chasing business all the time. And once we get someone in, maybe we get $100 and then that's it. Whereas this way, it just keeps on growing, growing. So as time goes on, every single person we connect with then adds more and more and more as time goes on. And you don't end up having to keep chasing your tail and working as hard every year. It gets easier and easier. And the final thing, the how, here, is sometimes we even do that, but we not having all of processes automated or outsourced? These are the 5 big reasons, that in order, that most people, even though they want to be successful and have a global business, don't, is for these 5 reasons. So what is this entire process and program about? It's about us continually cycling through these 5 and really making sure these reasons go away, because we actually fill them all up. So you're going to see that the structure that we've actually set over Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is that every day we're covering one of these. So for example, we start, I believe it is every Monday, with something around this side here. We're actually starting on process side. I might have got the data wrong. I'm pretty sure this is right. We've got this on Monday. We've got Tuesday, all around life design. Something, so there's going to be different people showing up at different times. We have Wednesday, which is all about basically the market position, market promotions. We have Thursday. We're always going to do something around partnerships. And you'll have different people, and I'll be doing a number in each one of those areas. John will be doing some, and we'll have others come in. And then every Friday will be all about the structure in which we're creating an ongoing channel that then works. And so you'll see that we're going to cycle through this with a subject shift every day based on these 5. And super important, as we start getting them, you say, I need more help in this particular area. At least now you can focus down in the area that you need the help in, because you're all strong in some area here, and other areas you're not so strong. So this is about actually getting strong in all areas so that you really feel confident. Now I've got the pathway forward. Learning by doing, final thing I'll share, is that we will be, and you'll see this in the sessions today, tomorrow, we will be setting up a promotion of source in some form or other, which allows you to test and measure things. Okay, I'm going to try out doing this. I'll set up this in a blog to do this. I'll set up a website that allows me to charge people for doing that. I'll send an email blast to these people over here. I'll phone certain people up because I've got an event coming up. Everyone's going to design something which actually has an endpoint that's going to generate income of some sort. And in the 30 days that you're here, you're going to go through a process where you're learning and testing and measuring using the most important part, which is the 5th step there, which is monetize your moment. How do you actually turn on the tap and get exactly the water you want out of it when you want it, as opposed to just hope for the best? So when you get that discipline over this time, you'll notice the people that do it best aren't the hardest working, they're not the smartest, they're not the ones that think they're cleverest, they're the ones that are actually testing and measuring and saying, it's not even up to me what's the value. It's what I'm seeing from the market as a value. When I go out with this, more people are interested than if I go with that. I just learned something about the market now, and as you start going through that process, you get more and more curious and interested, and it becomes a game which is exciting to play, where you get to speak to humanity and get a reply. You get to say, well, what do you think of this? And you get a reply. And as you do that, you get more and more sense of your own value. I get guided not by what I think is my best idea. I get guided by going out with a number of different things, trying a number of different things, seeing what's of most value and most attraction to people, and then moving down that pathway to the level where I get very confident that whatever I'm going to share is going to be of value, not because I just imagined it, but because I've got enough reference points that these are things at this moment in time that people are most interested in. And the only way you get that is through experience, just like knowing how to kick a ball in a team and who to pass it to has an awful lot to do with how often you've played with that team and how often you've actually kicked the ball yourself to get that sense of knowing which way it's going to go when you do it. So that basically is going to be part of our process too, and the steps we're going to take.